I'm asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000.
The Senate proceed to the consideration of H.R. 9051. If passed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection to the request for modification?
Object.
Objection is heard.
Ahmed Shayef, a parent of 3, who was laid off from his job as a doorman at the Omni Parker House in Boston this past month. Ahmed receives $400 a week in unemployment benefits.
Object.
Going to bed hungry when you're 11, it sucks.
Oh, goodness. Yes, it does suck. And the fact that Congress, the Senate, decided to play cute with the $2,000 stimulus relief sucks. Bad Mitch McConnell. Bad cocaine Mitch. You know, there's a time I thought, well, you know, maybe there isn't. I mean, there's a time you'd figure that if you're a petty thief, a pickpocket, or whatever, and the guy in front of you gets hit by a bus and is writhing in the ground in pain, breathing out, there's a time you think at some point you don't just pick his pocket and walk away. You'd figure that there are extraordinary periods in life where sometimes, God forbid, the decent thing is the prudent thing to do at the moment for extra political reasons, you know, maybe just to make the world a better place, maybe because out of a place of humanity. Mm-hmm. And the fact that McConnell just said, screw it, no. That was no good. It's not over. It's not over.
So he's sort of hinted that he's going to try and tie it to Section 230 reform.
Right. And maybe some other dangling goodies that he wants. But still, even
Don't screw around. This is like Nancy Pelosi attaching stuff to her bill in Congress. It's no better. It's the same thing.
No, it is the same thing. And it's cynical, and it's damn, it's cynical, and it's totally disgraceful. But these people don't know how to act differently. You know, these are telemarketers trying to sell you, vitamins for, erection. What's ED? What's the D stand for?
Erectile dysfunction.
Erectile dysfunction. Made out of shark cartilage or something, and they're unable to get off that page.
Right.
No matter
Everything's
what
an opportunity to sell you.
Right. And so that's what we're doing here. And McConnell was, it was not a good moment here. You heard it in the beginning here. This is Bernie Sanders. I was on WTIC, Talk 1080 in Hartford, Connecticut today, hosting for my friend Todd Feinberger, who you should follow on Twitter if you don't. Todd Talk on Twitter. He's a smart guy. His show is a really good show when he's hosting it. I think
it's okay when you're on it too.
It's a different animal when I'm on it. Todd is just such a good radio guy and
He's
such
awesome.
a free thinker on the air. And very rarely do you have those two things at once.
Also a super fun person.
Yeah, and a great guy. And,
who has an awesome wife.
Yes, Rosalie is awesome too. And he's a great friend. But I played on the air today. I'm doing a talk radio show as a conservative and Republican, and essentially I played mostly sound of Democrats. I am brothers in arms now with Bernie Sanders. He's my guy now.
The Senate proceed to the consideration of H.R. 9051, that the bill be considered read a third time and the Senate vote on passage of the bill without intervening action or debate. Further,
this is Senatese for Mitch. Will you allow us to vote on the 2000?
That if passed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection to the request for modification?
Object.
Objection is heard.
Right, and you knew that McConnell was being cute as far as early this morning as well. You knew that this was going to happen.
As he explained, the President would like further direct financial support for American households. This week, the Senate will begin a process to bring these 3 priorities into focus.
Priorities into focus. Into focus is as close as we will get for the time being, for right now, with Mitch McConnell. That is a way to tease the Democrats and let them know he is open for business if they would like to wheel and deal. Even though Americans are waiting for relief. We need this money. This is not this is not time to screw around. We need this money. People need relief. People need relief. I mean, if it's not too late at this point, it might be just too late for too many people. But people need relief. The Democrats, I mean, they're soulless, craven people as well. Everybody in D.C. I have no time for just about any D.C. politician. There are a handful that I do have a time for, but it's how business is done in Washington D.C. It is a shame. It's disgraceful. I mean, that you're doing it right now when folks can't. Folks are really hurting, and some people made good points. People who usually I would not side with, and I know that a lot of this is just political rhetoric. And there's the usual amount of using hyperbole and making sure that the colorful imagery is in your Senate speech. These guys love to hear themselves, but even God forbid Ed Markey today made some sense, citing a guy who worked at the Omni Parker House, where I spent my 20s. Learning about humanity, down with the regular people, Alice, even though I probably have less money now than I did then. And here's Massachusetts Senator, usual dullard, Ed Markey, who's now my brother in arms, in this mission to get people a little relief.
We must remember that what makes America the envy of the world is not simply the strength of our defense and military, but the strength of our people. People like Ahmed Jaya,
close enough,
a parent of 3, who was laid off from his job as a doorman at the Omni Parker House in Boston this past March.
60 School Street, the Omni Parker House, opened, I believe, in 1865, did not close its doors one day since 1865, Alice.
Wow.
Until when?
COVID.
Correct. Went through all the other pandemics, including the Spanish flu, et cetera. Was managed to stay in business then, but nope. Back then, people knew how to, well, I guess, die in greater numbers, but also how to sustain.
They died to keep the Parker House open. Damn it.
That's right.
Ahmed receives $400 a week in unemployment benefits, but it is not enough to cover the bills that keep rolling in as he now faces expiring health coverage as well. People like Tanya DeStefano to find an eviction notice taped to the front of her door. These are the stories that should be driving our fights. These are the people who need relief now. And these checks
Ed,
will
dial
go
it down
right
a little
back.
bit. We get it. But he's right. I mean, that doorman
enough with
really.
the flourishes,
I texted with my friends at the Parker House today and sent them this piece of video, and they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! That's incredible," etc. So real lives are being affected in this. Somebody who's
right, and that's what this is about. It's not about like the economy and what will work to fix the economy, Larry Summers.
Yes, we don't want to overheat. You don't want to overheat
or any of these people about ideology and deficits. And you know what? If there's a time to run up the credit card, it's now.
Yes.
Because people can't pay their bills. That's what we're talking about here. For a variety of reasons. They might have had to buy school curriculum for their kids. They might have had to go out and get a tutor for their kids since the schools are failing them. They might have had to go get new daycare. They might have had to put an elderly relative in a different care facility because of risks of COVID. There's all kinds of reasons why people are under huge financial pressure right now. Huge. And the fact that they're trying to make this about anything but that is so ridiculous. So I was looking today a little. You asked me yesterday what the cap was, and I said it was like $200,000 or something. That's what it was. Nancy Pelosi did raise it. So it's now $350,000 for a couple. So that's pretty. There's some people in there that I don't think need to be getting it. I mean, I don't think she needed to raise the cap that much. But, the important thing is that people like Ahmed, that Ed Markey's talking about, or the people that needed to, put their kid in with a tutor to help them learn basic math or learn to read because the schools that they're paying for aren't doing it anymore. They're just on permanent vacation until further notice. These are the people that you just have to get money into their hands, and you have to do it now. You can't wait for them to be laid off and file unemployment and sit on hold and wait for the tier 2 people and all the other things. Like, they can't wait for that. They need that money now. They need to go to the grocery store now. They need to write a rent check now. And, we can have the COVID check in their bank account in a couple weeks. And nothing else can do that. The unemployment office isn't going to do that for you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And one of the good things about doing terrestrial radio like I did today is I heard from people who were hurting, and who felt betrayed by their government, who felt like they were getting a pittance and a tap on the head, and they felt disrespected. And they should. They're absolutely right. Some of these people who get into politics and get into national politics and in work in Congress, some of them are fine enough people, but the status quo there is craven political opportunism. And so they go and say, oh, so this is how this works here. And it's tough to be a mover and shaker.
Well, your pickpocket metaphor is right on. And it's the same thing like if you know people who try and sell stuff on social media and they get desperate or whatever. It's the same instinct. The politician always sees an opportunity to make a sale for some other policy they want. Oh, this is the perfect time to get through Section 230. Or if you're Nancy Pelosi, oh, this is the perfect time to get through more OSHA regulations. This is great. This is perfect.
Right.
They always are seeing. It's like the person who sees you posting about your dying relative and sees an opportunity to pitch you essential oils or something.
Oh, yeah, they give you a business card. At the funeral.
There's always that person who just never can actually be talking to you now in the moment. You can tell they're just looking for an in, and that's like what McConnell and Pelosi are. There's a few politicians that aren't like that, but for the most part, they're just looking for an opportunity to get in their preferred policy. They don't really care about the stimulus checks or any of the rest of it. They're looking for that in point with you. So if the $2,000 checks is it, then fine. But Mitch McConnell's not going to let that opportunity just go.
Object.
No, object. Sorry.
Not without me getting something for it. That's for sure, says Mitch McConnell.
Now, once again, my embrace of Democratic politicians will end shortly. But they did elucidate quite accurately and effectively, I thought, some of the challenges. Chris Murphy, who's the Connecticut senator, who most of the callers today hated anyway. I thought that he hit the most stark note of the morning.
$2,000 doesn't put dinner on the table every night, but man, going to bed hungry when you're 11, it sucks.
Well said. Is that not a great line?
It puts dinner on the table for a lot of nights.
Well, no doubt about that. There was a slightly bigger context, but I flipped it because these guys love to hear. I mean, they're allotted 15 minutes, and they take 15 minutes. There's no time they don't. But yeah, so that's how it went there. Hopefully they do the right thing this week. This is not. I mean, this will be led by the fact that Loeffler and Perdue need the help.
Yeah.
And they're on board. They're with
both
Trump.
said they're in favor.
Right. And
Hawley did. I know Rubio said he's for the checks. I mean, they have enough votes to pass the thing. It's
but
just McConnell's not letting it come up.
He jeopardizes that election every day that he doesn't give people the money.
Absolutely.
It's such an easily pre-made ad for the Democrats. And why not? Why not? He's the guy now stopping the money.
Right. And having Loeffler and Perdue there allows McConnell to continue to be in that position. So that absolutely puts their races in jeopardy because it allows Warnock and Ossoff to make the case that you're not really voting for us, you're voting for who's the majority leader of the Senate.
Yeah.
And every day that Mitch McConnell blocks people from getting COVID relief checks is a day that Warnock and Ossoff look like a better bet if you're living in Georgia.
Yeah, and the race is neck and neck right now, and it shouldn't be this close. And even the Trafalgar guy, who is kind of an outlier when it comes to polls,
right?
He has the Republicans trailing by a minuscule amount right now, but we'll see what happens. But you can't do this. You cannot have put people through what they've put us through because the health officials, the health bureaucracy dropped the ball and then subsequently decided that the only thing to do was lock us in our houses. You cannot have that. You cannot have these people.
So if we start vaccinating the general population in April, from a pure logistics standpoint, it's probably going to take several months to get those people vaccinated that would get us to the 70 to 85% group. I think that's going to probably be by the middle to the end of the summer, so that I hope that by the time we get to the fall, we will reach that critical percentage of people that we can really start thinking about a return to some form of normality.
You can't have form of normality, dangling in front of you on a string for maybe next year and
Object.
Together. Those both can't happen. You can't have
Object.
Along with health czars dictating the amount of freedom we're allowed to enjoy.
Just because you get vaccinated with that second dose does not mean you should be participating in things like traveling in the middle of an out-of-control pandemic, or that you're liberated from masks.
No.
Everything still applies until all of us get the 2-dose regimen. And we don't think that's going to happen until June, July.
Right, yeah. But so you don't get any help that you need, and obviously, like as Alice was saying, there are other things that they're finding reasons. The health czars are finding reasons more and more to keep the economy under wraps and under the boot of their bureaucracy.
What about vaccine euphoria? I think that is misplaced, because it's going to be a long time before most people get the vaccine.
Well then.
And we need, as just been said very clearly and eloquently, we need to follow the rules. We're learning now a lot, really quickly, about...
Follow the rules in California. Even though nurses on TikTok, know for a fact it's because you guys were a little more comfortable and had a little more freedom. I'm sick of it. I love nurses. I consider them to be angels. Get the hell off of TikTok, please. Please.
Stop.
The moment you're not on TikTok, that you're on TikTok and not in with patients, I grow angry. Jesus.
It really is just shameful. And the bad behavior from everyone this year, if we're doing a retrospective on everyone's behavior this year, but medical professionals talking about their patients in public, too, telling stories of their patients, supposed stories. They're probably not HIPAA violations, because they're probably invented whole cloth. But that's not a good look either. The dancing in the hospital hallways and pleas on TikTok, not a good look. Just don't do that. You guys are heroes. Keep up the good work, but don't do this stuff. It's a discredit to the profession, truly. It's kind of awful. So cut that out. The economists need to cut out their behavior with complaining about economic overheat. The economists need to cut it out. The politicians need to cut it out. The nurses and doctors on TikTok need to cut it out. Everybody needs to just take a deep breath. People are now getting the vaccine. Things are going to become okay soon. But I was thinking about this, and I was kind of pondering this today. And I don't know if you've seen any posts like this, but have you ever seen anybody post like, oh, I get so anxious when I watch a TV show or a movie from the before times, and I see all these people together not wearing masks, and I just want to be like, oh no, what are you doing? That's so irresponsible. Everyone's not wearing masks. I think some people are just psychologically damaged by the whole fear response of this whole thing, that they can't, they have a visceral reaction now to seeing people without masks, even if it's in a fictional show from 1995, or if it's Scott Brown in New Zealand at a party where there's no COVID. There are people that can't handle the idea that we can return to normalcy because they're too frightened now. Do you think there are some people that aren't going to get over this?
Yes. I do, definitely. With this culture now, yeah. No, I do definitely.
Because I think there are people that aren't going to be able to let go of the social distancing and the masks and the staying home alone and the Zoom calls. And I don't know what those people are going to do, because we are going to go back to normal. There's going to be an armed revolution in the country if we don't go back to normal by, I'm probably thinking, the middle of the summer. Because COVID's going to go down. People are going to be vaccinated. The seasonal patterns are going to also make it go down in the spring and into the summer. And, there's not going to be any reason to continue the the lockdowns and everything then. And I mean, like measles, like anything else, there are still going to be positive cases and deaths here and there. Like, I'm not trying to say that it's going to go to zero overnight, because it's not. But there's going to come a point where the trade-offs of the lockdowns and the mask rules and everything else are too great, because the incidence of this illness is going to be low enough. And I just think some people are not going to be able to let go, because they're too emotionally invested in this now.
37,118 dead in New York. That is incredible.
It is.
27,000 in Texas. Incredible. And the thing is, even though there are spikes now and the death rate is lower, the cases are, there's so many hospitalizations and cases and a lack of resources that back when we didn't know what to do behaviorally, fewer people were absolutely dying. I mean, a greater number of them, too. But it's like, if you look at just the graph, back in April, when during one day there was 2,234 deaths compared to, and I know that the reporting is different.
Well, right. I mean,
September 16th, there were 3,611 deaths.
No, we have not seen the level of death concentrated in specific areas that we saw in New York and New England in the early spring. New York and really, like Connecticut, New Jersey, not really so much northern New England, but yeah, that there's no that spike that we saw early on in terms of that very regionally concentrated death in New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey. That we haven't seen replicated yet. I mean, I know the total number of deaths in the U.S. is higher now, but it's spread over the whole country because a lot more places are seeing it go up.
Yes, we know how to treat it now.
Well, right. But I mean, I think that the incidence is very high now, and there is, the number of deaths a day is pretty high. But I mean, I was doing out some math like kind of early on in the pandemic when the deaths in New York were very high, and I just, did some back of the envelope calculating, right? And if you divide out like
1570,
the average number of deaths that the state of New York has in a year, it's like, I forget what it is. It's like 171 people die a day or something. And they had like more deaths than that a day just from COVID than they would normally have in a normal average day from everything. So that's like, and that's, obviously that was over a short period of time. They're not going to end up with more COVID deaths for the year than they have from everything for the year. But there was a very high level of death in certain states this spring, very high. And we are going to end up at a pretty high level of excess deaths for the year in this country. So, I mean, I don't know. The sooner we get the vaccine into the people that can benefit most from the vaccine, probably the better. And then, we'll see where we need to get to in terms of herd immunity, in terms of other people having it. I know people are really worried about this like vaccine passport and vaccine mandate kind of stuff. I tend to kind of feel like we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm hopeful and optimistic that between the number of people who have had the virus and the number of people who want to go out and get the vaccine, that will be enough to get us to the point that we need to get to, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you figure like 30% of people roughly have already had the virus, by most estimates, like that's probably the amount of people that have had it. And then, so say like 50% of people get the vaccine, so that's 50% plus 50% of the people that have already had the virus, right? So that's like another 15% of the people have had the virus but don't get the vaccine. So that takes us to like 65% right there. So probably like half of the people in America want to get the vaccine, right? And that would take us to 65%, including the people that have already had the virus, who have some form of immunity, have either had it or have the vaccine. So that's like pretty close to Fauci's initial estimates for herd immunity.
What would happen if I just didn't say anything? Obviously, I don't understand anything you said, but smart people will understand that. We do know for sure that businesses are hurting, and And there's this viral video going around of a fellow named Carlos Roman, who owns in California a restaurant called Bread and Barley, which has just been shut down by the shock troops, health department shock troops. Of course, California is going through a terrible period right now, but also this
they're
guy,
very locked down, and they were.
Yep, they have been. They have been. This guy's trying to feed his employees, keep his employees employed so that they can make money. So anyway, the health officials pull up, start writing him up for his
outdoor dining. For outdoor dining.
And, he loses his mind. He says, you don't understand.
He blocks in their car.
Right. So he's like, no way they're doing this to me and my staff here. They're going to do that to me. I'm going to pull my huge truck behind their car and block them in so they know what pain is. So they know what it's like to feel pain. And it's a totally human emotion. Yeah. Like, they don't understand. They're just walking around with their paper clips, with their clipboards, and writing people's fines, etc. And he's like, no way, you're going to learn what it's like to feel pain if I have learned what it's like to feel pain. Totally human thing. It's a total, I've had
it feels really good.
Yeah, totally
feels really good that their car is blocked. I don't know if it's technically the right thing, but it
well, so then eventually, they have to call in.
Sweet spot in your heart.
They have to call in. The health department officials have to call the cops because their car is blocked in, and the owner of the restaurant that they just condemned is angry as hell. And this is the cops now and the restaurant owner, Carlos Roman, in front of his restaurant as the cops are pleading with him to move his truck so that they don't have to tow it. And he's both yelling at the cops to say, feel my pain, how can I pay these people? He's also yelling at the health department officials. Hopefully I got all the swears because he is livid.
He wants to come in here and say no one can work, so he can't work either.
He can't work either.
Bread and Barley, right there.
Are you, what's his name?
I'm Carlos Roman. This guy.
The owner of Bread and Barley? Okay.
He decided to come today and take pictures of people outside and say that you gotta fine us and we can't work out here. So if we can't work, he can't work.
I love that, taking it into his own hands. We've decided a new set of rules now. You can't do it either then. That's fine. No, I get a ticket. You get a ticket. Your ticket is that your car doesn't get to move from anywhere.
I'm not moving my truck. Better get your supervisor out. Because I ain't using my truck. Someone's coming. I'm not moving.
This guy is defiant. He said someone's coming. He wants the cops to get their supervisor out, which they get eventually.
Who's going to pay her car payment? Who's going to pay my cook's rent?
Listen, I will get a supervisor out here for you, but just so it's not hard on us, the traffic can go through.
I want it to be hard on everyone. I want everyone to see how hard this is. Everyone that wants.
I want it to be hard on everyone. I want everyone to see how hard this bleep is.
Yeah.
Damn right. If that's 100%. Not freaking, this is totally, this guy is just.
Can someone block in Charlie Baker's car for the day?
Wants to come out here and eat, they can. Everyone that wants to drive down Citrus and visit one of the restaurants, but they can't. This guy needs to know how hard it is. That's what he needs to know. You're out here enforcing, doing your job. Did you get?
It's interesting because the last time you saw such defiance and really law breaking in the name of symbolism, effective symbolism, was just this last summer, with all of the protests / rioty protests with Black Lives Matter. That you had to make people feel uncomfortable to know how much this hurt, to how much the pain was permeating in the entire community. You had to know. So take to the streets. Well, this is a protest of one right now. This guy, what he's doing.
Right.
In the same way, and he's probably looking at the protests from the summer saying, though that was fine, this must be fine. In the summer, you could lay down in the middle of the highway, block all of the traffic, force people to get out of their cars and pledge their loyalty to you, and the news media said you were really noble for doing it. It's remarkable. Well, this guy just wants to be treated like a normal citizen. Does he count, by the way? Carlos Roman, who I believe is of Hispanic or Mexican descent, does he count as
Latinx?
Is he a Latinx or a brown person? Is he one of those?
I don't know. We need a full genetic workup to really.
Paycheck on Friday? Why people don't? I bet you got a paycheck, didn't you? You're just doing your job, right? We're all in this together. When I go to the bank, do I tell the bank the health department said it's okay? The health department said I don't have to pay you. The health department said I can't make a living.
Hey, sir.
I can't make any money.
Sir.
Is that what I tell the bank? What do I tell my employees? What do I tell my employees? He's out here enforcing it. You don't enforce a rule without any consequences.
Sir.
There's consequences to everything in this world. There's consequences.
Sir.
Do you know the consequences? They can't pay their bills. Me. This isn't about me. They can't pay their bills.
What a hero that guy is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I mean,
they can't pay their bills.
You hear the way that passion? That is something that is not contrived. That is a desperate human being. Mm-hmm. And Jesus Christ, to be yelled at by Ovaltine and freaking all these other people and scolded about, and even the TikTok nurses saying just to close down and to keep your mask and do this and that. Jesus Christ. Things are desperate out here as well. You know, maybe the way to make sure that the people who are vulnerable to disease don't die is to keep them separate. Maybe it's not to freaking blanket suffocate all of society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a good conversation on Twitter today with our friend John. We went back and forth for a while on how much masks do, if anything, to prevent the spread of disease. He feels absolutely nothing. I feel that there might be some decent scientific evidence that they stop some droplets from coming out of your face and hitting other people. But so despite that difference, though, where we agree is that the masks on every single person in America, which are at best moderately effective, right? And at the margin, at like one more person wearing a mask has almost zero impact on anything, right? It's like a population level effect. It's like if everybody wears them, maybe it makes a little difference. But what would make a difference is now that we don't have PPE shortages would be to get an N95 respirator, and John said also maybe a face shield as well, on vulnerable people.
Right.
Put the vulnerable people in the PPE that actually works instead of demanding that every single person in America put on something sort of maybe a tiny bit effective. Like, that's the big issue. Instead of demanding that everybody stay home and not work, and I mean, okay, for you people who have office jobs, you still get a paycheck, but people who work in restaurants, people who work in hotels don't still get a paycheck when they stay home.
So why do you think that is not the guidance given by the CDC?
I mean, I think they're just slow moving, and now they've put the energy into the mask guidance and in trying to get people to follow that.
Let me answer or just jump in here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that there is voices representing intersectional interests at every meeting. And I bet you they would say that no, we're not making some people, especially the most marginalized people, pile on PPE and face masks while these other people...
But it works better.
Right. Well,
but it works better.
It's not the point. It also works better that there not be, maskless protests with 100,000 people in them. That also works better too. But that was not the guidance from the CDC. Was green light.
Right. But that works better. An N95 and a face shield on somebody
once again, that's
vulnerable.
The problem is that they've been diluted, and unfortunately, it's been tainted. The mission statement is not to heal everybody, it's to heal everybody with equitable outcomes.
Well, right, and I do, maybe it's cynical of me, but I feel like there's an aspect of social control to this whole thing of like, you need to wear a face mask to protect me. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing my face mask, not to help me, but to help you. I'm noble because I'm wearing a face mask, and you need to be noble and put on a face mask too. If you wear one that protects you, even if it works about 20 times better than the one that protects other people, then there's not this like weird demand on other people to do something for you, right? There's not this aspect of requiring altruism from other people. So, I mean, I think there is an aspect of that too, that it's wanting people to have to do something for other people. When you can give people the tool that allows them to protect themselves, for some reason we're not doing that We're just demanding that everybody else take a really bad, unhelpful step to protect that person.
Right. It's this idea that somehow you have to prove fealty to the cause.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what our health department said. They sent out the email. They said, it might feel silly to you to wear a face mask outside, even when you're not near any other people, but it shows that you care about the community and not just about yourself.
Right.
That's what our
pretty damn dangerous.
It's a little scary. You're required to put on this to show that you believe in the cause, to show that you're like us, to show that you care about other people. It's kind of dark.
But it's uncomfortable, sir. Exactly.
We like you to be a little bit uncomfortable while you show that you care about us.
There's a strain of flagellation through this that we want to display for all to see. You're willing to suffer a little bit for the greater good. And now with the new strains coming over, you're going to do it again and again and again and again and again until you've earned a degree of normality.
Mm-hmm. De Blasio, by the way, just officially extended the New York City face mask mandate until June of next year. He's extended it 6 months.
He's a sick man.
Until everybody is vaccinated, is what he said. Everybody. So that's going to become the new thing with the vaccine. Hopefully, I still retain some optimism. I'm hoping enough people want to go out and get the vaccine that we don't get to a point where we're yelling at other people to get the vaccine, but I have a bad feeling that some people aren't going to just let this go.
The vaccine passports are coming. You will be showing your papers.
I don't want people to act like this about vaccine papers. I've had enough with the people with the lectures and the finger pointing and the you did this and the telling me I made the cook in the what's the restaurant called in California? Bread and Barley.
Yes.
I made the cook at Bread and Barley not get paid because I didn't wear my face mask enough. I laughed at the mask mandate outside when you're not near anyone. So it's my fault that we're still shut down and Bread and Barley isn't open. It's my fault because I made a song about Thanksgiving where I made fun of the mandates. See how this works? You can always put it back on the other person.
Why don't you have a Serbian accent, Alice? Your father's from Serbia. Your mother's from Indiana. Am I correct on that?
My mother primarily grew up in Washington State. She was born in Annapolis, Maryland. Her parents are from Terre Haute, Indiana.
Okay, so that would make her an American.
Yes.
And your father is born in Serbia.
Yes.
My sister that makes him. Hold on. That makes him a Serbian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why is it that you don't really have much of a Serbian accent?
I grew up in the United States.
Okay. And they don't have Serbian accents if you grow up here and don't grow up there where everybody else has the accent?
Usually, yeah. I think so, yeah.
So what is the deal with Hilaria Baldwin and her accents?
She was raised bilingual, I understand.
She was raised bilingual. And sometimes, she was raised mostly by the Charles River.
In Newton, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So she grew up in Boston. But sometimes she has an accent.
Sometimes she even forgets English words.
Yes. Sometimes she doesn't. Here's a little display of Hilaria Baldwin. I don't care about this.
Alec Baldwin's wife.
It's Alec Baldwin's wife. And this is perfect for him because he's a hothead and he's very protective as well. But she has an accent and then doesn't have an accent. And I find it mildly amusing. And I'm sick of talking about the hell that is so much of this pandemic response.
How's married life? Married life is really nice. It feels different. It really feels different.
That sounds like somebody with an accent.
I think so, yeah, like a Spanish
She grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. There are Boston accents. That is not it.
I didn't think it was going to be different, but it feels quite different.
What's the thing that surprised you the most?
I think just the fact that it feels different. We like to say husband and wife a lot.
Yeah.
I call him husband now. I say, husband, where are you? No, he took...
That was a surprise to you, Hilaria?
that when you get married, your husband is a husband?
Me out to Montauk. He said that was as close as he could get to Spain, to my family, and to Rome, because we really like Rome as well.
Now, the accent's gone in this one, right?
And he got down on his knee. And then I don't remember the rest because I started crying.
That sounds like a girl from Boston, right there. Nice and speedy talker.
We have very few ingredients. We have tomatoes. We have, how do you say it in English? Cucumbers.
How do you say it in English? Cucumbers? We have cucumbers in Boston, I'm pretty sure. I used to live there.
Not easy, and I think part of it is that I'm in shape before I have a baby, and then I stay.
This is here. She sounds like Tommy Lahren. She sounds like any youthful American girl.
Right.
Active when I'm pregnant, and I'm not trying to stay thin. I'm just trying to keep my circulation going and stretching and keep my muscle tone up.
That sounds like an American young lady right there to me.
Well, you know what? I feel like all of our children were semi-surprises in a good way. Good surprises. Like positive surprise. I have 4 kids, but you have to be able to treat each one as if they were only child sometimes.
As if they were what?
As if they were only child.
Oh.
So I have to have my individual time with each one of them. Yeah, maybe that's why you wake up so early. You say, I want my mommy time, huh?
There you go, Hillary Baldwin.
So did you hear her response to this, by the way?
I heard that she did respond with just saying that she grew up in Boston but flew to Mallorca and back or something.
Yeah, so she's saying she went back and forth and she grew up bilingual, but her response is just total Liz Warren, you can't take my family story.
Oh, God. Oh, beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it's a very, deflecting all the criticism back onto other people. I mean, Alec Baldwin's obviously angry, too. He's been yelling at people. But she said, I've seen chatter online questioning my identity and my culture.
Oh, God.
This is something I take very seriously. And for those who are asking, I'll reiterate my story as I've done many times before. I was born in Boston and grew up spending time with my family between Massachusetts and Spain. My parents and sibling live in Spain, and I chose to live here in the USA. We celebrate both cultures in our home. Alec and I are raising our children bilingual, just as I was raised. This is very important to me. I understand that my story is a little different, but it is mine, and I'm very proud of it. So it's us. We're racist for questioning her story. It's because it's a little different, I think. We're just a little uncomfortable with it.
Another big progressive thing that I don't understand. Mm-hmm. And it's also conservatives. Some people say it as well. I don't get why you're proud of your lineage. Why is it I'm proud of it? You didn't do anything to earn you just got born in Boston. Why are you proud of it? I mean, I think if you're from Mallorca, that's great. She's very beautiful and probably intelligent. That's great. Good for her. But I'm proud of, I've never spent time I'm proud of those, scurvy-filled shaddocks from 1630, braving the Atlantic Ocean to come over here and, try to eke out a living, getting wiped out every winter by the elements or occasionally by indigenous people, if not fellow colonists. I'm really proud of my heritage. Who cares about your heritage?
Well, you're interested in it. You like it.
Yeah, but that's fine. But I would never say I'm proud. It's an attribute that I developed. It's a characteristic of mine. She should be proud, I think, that she's bilingual, because that's something.
Right,
and that's
that
impressive.
is a thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's cool.
And raising your kids bilingual is hard, too.
Right.
Even if you speak multiple languages, it's an effort to raise your kids speaking multiple languages. That's, additional effort put in by you. That's good. And I think that it's fine to be from Boston and to, spend time in Spain. But, and like you say, I don't care about this. I'm not invested. But it's just funny because it's just funny how lefties need to appropriate. They need to put on these identities that they don't really have claim to and pretend that they have a thing that they don't have, she was on the cover of Latina magazine.
Although in a sense, Al, she was appropriating. Because for her to say, what's the word? How do you say in English? Cucumber. She was pretending to have the challenges of a non-speaking English-speaking person.
Right. It's not just that I can't remember the word for cucumber.
Right. Or I know it, but I'm pretending here that I'm a little more exotic than you think. Melania Trump, if she doesn't know the word for cucumber, understandable. She's from somewhere near where your people are from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's understandable because it is a challenge. But Hilaria gets free bilingual points where she shouldn't.
Yeah. So, and she was on the cover of Latina magazine and like all this stuff. And she didn't, correct them. She did say in like part of her apology thing, like, I'm a white person and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But, she didn't tell.
Wait a second, though. Because she's Spanish. Is America in Spain? Okay, so that's white. That's white.
Yeah, Spanish is white. Latino encompasses.
But if you're Spanish and you're a conquistador and then you grow up in Mexico and then you come to America, what are you then?
Well, it's complicated.
Okay.
Because.
Of course it is.
Well, but Latino identity in the United States, I mean, like a lot of Latinos have a lot of native heritage also.
A lot, but some. We're not talking about Aztecs here. I'm talking about conquistadors.
This is why, the Cuban Latinos, this is why on the left there's such a phrase as white Hispanic, because they do want to draw a little bit of a line,
Well, yeah, well.
So you have a friend who's Puerto Rican, but he could, quote unquote, pass for white, correct?
Yes.
And
he also refuses when somebody white knows his name sounds like a name that's in Puerto Rico. He refuses to engage when they speak Spanish to him when they pander to him. He doesn't do it. He's got no time for that crap.
but and I believe he voted for Trump, and I think all his relatives that we know about all voted for Trump. So I think they've been ceremonially moved into
now they're white. They lost all the specialness. He can he can not know cucumber all he wants to. He's not special anymore.
And he never tells us he's bilingual, at least. I don't know if he speaks more languages, but he's definitely bilingual, but he's never told us he doesn't know a word in English. How you say in English?
Oh God! Even if he didn't know, he would never say it. Well, he said the family's been here since he was a little kid as well. They don't. You wouldn't.
Well, so is Hilaria's family.
Yeah, but he grew up in Boston, so
did Hilaria.
No, I don't like this. I don't like where this is going, Alice. I don't like you denying Hilaria her true identity or any of your attitudinal problems. I do like that cup, though, Alice. What is that cup?
This is my burn barrel cup that my sister gave me for Christmas.
That's nice. Is there anything? Are there likewise vessels?
Not exactly like this. This is kind of a one-off that my sister, your sister-in-law had made for us, especially. But we can go in the Burn Barrel store. I've been putting together our family order. Our kids placed orders. I do need to find out what you need from the Burn Barrel podcast store. Have you been on?
I'll have to go again and spend a little more time.
Go ahead and enter the web address. It's shop.burnbarrelpodcast.com. Go ahead and enter it. You should be able to pull it up in your computer. Let's see.
Shop. I'm on Carlos Roman's GoFundMe right now.
Shop.burnbarrelpodcast.
Burn Barrel. God, why isn't it already? Oh, it's SOP, I wrote. Okay. So SOP won't get you there.
SOP doesn't get you there, but Shop will.
Okay, here I go.
Shop.burnbarrelpodcast.com.
It doesn't do a credit check, does it?
No.
Okay, welcome to the Burn Barrel's official podcast. How come it says in the top left, not secure?
Oh, that's just because the SSL, if you go to the top and type in HTTPS instead of HTTP, it's just because it's a
so
thing.
get only 13 days left. Get 15% off of the shop. What are we?
You get 15% off for the
Why
first
are there only
2
13
weeks.
days left, if anything?
There's 2 weeks to get 15% off.
Why? Is that something we came up with?
It's a 2-week initial promo.
Is this something adults know about that I should just let you take care of?
It's a sale.
Well, what's on sale?
Everything's on sale. You get 15% off everything for the first 2 weeks.
So that
I know this sounds like a bit, you guys.
Oh my God,
but this
the
isn't
Toast
a bit.
Cats thing. You know what's this embarrassing is that it's not embarrassing that the Toast Cats. So there is a cat named Toast, who a friend of ours uses as her online moniker sometimes, who we call Toast, and she submitted a design for a T-shirt. And it actually looks awesome.
It does.
It's a good-looking thing.
It does. I'm going to order a
the little
Toast
Jerry
Cat
Callahan shirts
water bottle.
Are awesome, too.
I'm going to order for myself a Jerry Callahan long sleeve tee, a 1570
I don't like long
sleeve
sleeve tees.
I'm a long
Make me
sleeve
nervous.
person. Everybody yells at me all summer long. I'm in long sleeves. Everyone yells at me. I'm going to have my
do we love
little Jerry long sleeve
Do we love the exclamation point after I don't know how to be? I think it should just be I don't know how to be without the exclamation point.
Okay.
Let's say, you know, we can make another edition. How about that?
Okay.
Because I think it's more kind of a thought piece if it's just I don't know how to be.
Okay.
You know, rather than celebrating it.
Okay.
I guess we could take this offline. The little Jerry Callahan unisex baseball.
That's
t-shirt,
what I'm ordering for me.
That's one of the finest looking things that I've ever seen.
I'm wearing that. And there's a version of that same shirt, but with blue sleeves that has the 1570 on it that I'm also going to order for me.
Let's say, the Books is Dumb blue men's tall tee.
Somebody bought Books is Dumb today.
That looks good. And actually, that color... let's say that somebody who's not me, but somebody had a tiny weight problem. That color might hide some of my primary fat roll.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, there's a lot of stuff here, Alice. You're a hard worker. What is this? A sticker? Jesus. Oh God. What is this? The end of civilization?
You can have a sticker, a Toast Cat sticker. You can have a Jerry Callahan sticker, a little Jerry Callahan. Sorry, not original Jerry Callahan. You can have a little Jerry Callahan chicken sticker.
Okay, we will in a second. Alice, here you go.
This has been the Burn Barrel Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Burn Barrel Pod, Facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast, on Parler at Burn Barrel Podcast. You can send us an email if you have something to tell us. That's burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel, where you can see video versions of the podcast. You can like, comment, and subscribe.
C'est la vie.